I like to say we're gifted with this within our DNA. We like to ride on the backs of hope. We're riding on the back of hope with a pointed toward our dream, whatever that feels like.
Mm-hmm.
And it's that hope that drives us. But it's also the reward we get and we're riding the horse or riding through this walk.
Right. It's the process, the journey.
And the payment is reaching that
gratitude, really.
that success level.
Yeah.
So in that sense of reaching a level of being honored enough that someone's willing to pay money for your representation of your gift, whatever that is,
Right.
cannot become egotistical gratification.
Hopefully not.
If you've lived long enough, and you know you have, you know the difference.
Yeah.
And so I said to my wife one night, I said, you know what, Marilyn? I mean, we met at 14. She watched me paint my first painting. She's ran an art gallery. She's painting. She does the secretarial bookkeeping and still does.
Right.
And
you've been married for 50 years.
60.
60 years.
Been married
oh,
60,
yeah, that's right.
60
You're
years.
80. That's for 60 years.
Just celebrated it. So I said, Marilyn, you know, I don't think as I'm on my bed to leave this world, I'll be inclined to ask you how much you liked that last painting I painted.
Yeah.
Instead, how grateful I am for her.
Yeah. Yeah, because she's part of the journey. Without
She basically is a journey.
Yeah, without
anybody
her,
that talks
it's
to
not the...
anybody that talks to you privately said, well, without him, he wouldn't. Without her, he wouldn't be worth nothing. So I'm going like, so really, is your profession from which you've chosen to follow your dream?
Yes.
Is that it? And I think for a lot of people, they put too much emphasis on the product they create.
Yeah. Instead of the journey.
Instead of the journey.
Yeah, I agree. Well,
now the profit is in the profit is in the product. Yes, it's what affords you the journey.
Yes.
But really, to paint, I don't think my life is about painting a picture. But yes, it is. Can't live without it.
Yeah.
But simultaneously, as you're painting your profession, reaching out to people and inspiring and encouraging artists and giving opportunity for people to own and have this spirit life in their homes.
Right.
It's got to be your payment.
Yeah, it is.
And on that journey, I think it's more important that we learn about living our lives and painting the paintings of our lives.
Yes, I agree.
And you put them both together, you got a pretty good thing.
Happiness.
Happiness.
Yeah.
Fulfillment.
Yeah, joy and
And
gratitude. Those are the
Reaching the
three
point
things.
of fulfilling your purpose.
Correct. I think that's one of the things that you have to find in life. What is your purpose? Then once you figure it out, embrace it.
And your purpose is not just to paint a picture.
No, it's there's a lot more than that. It's doing what
bigger
you're
than
doing
that.
here. Yeah.
So if you can learn that and take your emphasis off of, we artists are still thrown up against each other in these shows.
Right.
And a competition thing, and you go to a show and everybody will sell out and you might sell one or might not sell none.
Right.
How that influences you. But I told a friend the other day, I said, look, we've got to get to the point that we're not painting the painting for the sale.
Mm-hmm.
If you start painting for the sale, that's all you're going to get.
Yeah.
And we can learn how to do that.
You can.
You can learn how to do that.
Yeah. It takes introspective, though, to think about it.
But if you can take that to a spiritual level,
Yes.
and it's not related to the reward. And the reward is your own satisfaction.
Right.
I like to say it like this. I don't think I've ever been pleased with the painting I finished, totally.
Mm-hmm. I hear that a lot from artists, by the way. It's very rare when they actually go, I totally nailed this one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Even if they did
There's
totally
always something that I could have done better.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, that's what really keeps you driving on.
Yeah.
But the important thing is like to understand, I'm never going to please me.
Right.
And occasionally I might please the dealer.
Hopefully more than occasionally.
Most especially if it sells.
Yeah.
Fortunately, if we ever reach the boat that a dealer can actually reaffirm your spiritual gift in the painting, set aside from the sale of it,
Right.
but in conjunction with it, then they're better off. So I say, you don't ever please yourself, you'll please your dealer sometime. So what I've came to how I am able to accept the level on which this painting turned out at is, and I learned this from Rod Goebel.
Great painting.
You ask about the signature.
Yes.
And at this junction, I'm going to tell that little story.
Please, because I am curious about it. I've heard, not from you, but I've heard, it has a meaning. I'd like to know what it is.
Well,
We're talking about the little red dot.
yes,
On,
two stories.
Yeah.
Can I tell two stories?
Yeah, sure.
The TAOS
Yes.
began in 1985. There was a woman, a dear friend of mine, who I heard from this morning, who just had a spine surgery, of which got an infection, and she had to spend a half a day yesterday cleaning her spine up, and she's now 84, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So we're in Taos with a group of friends from Texas. We rented the Andrew Jasberg house in 1985. And I took this lady named Pat Forton. Pat, come with me. I want to show. When I'm in Texas, there's a little road here in Taos that I love to go paint on outdoors. And I'd like to come show you what I painted. Okay. So we go over there. And so we pull up this little adobe house with the pointed roof, not flat, but pointed. Tin roof, hollyhocks, weeds, turquoise window. And I said, Pat, how would you paint that? She said, well, I have no idea. I said, well, through a camera lens, I can show you, but put your fingers up and make a picture. So where would you land at? Let me see what you're looking at. Okay, put it on the house, the window, and the hollyhock. Oh my God, there's a painting. So as she did, my wife Marilyn brought her the print produced by American Master Prints of that house. We said, happy birthday, Pat. And she's in tears. Well, anybody would be. That's pretty dramatic. And she said, oh, I'll always think of Taos from now on as together always our spirit. And I go like, now that's pretty magic. Would you allow me to use that? Well, I would be honored, of course. So I began to paint T-A-O period, T-A, T period, A period, O period, S period.
House.
And so that was it.
Our spirit.
Fast forward, I bought a house on that trip in Taos, on Loma Street.
That was in 1985?
85.
Yeah.
We moved there in 86. So sometime around probably 1990, Rod Goebel gave a workshop for 37 artists. We were 37 of us, we artists in Taos were invited, and we went. And so his story was this. And it's a lot of my premise of how I approach a painting. He said, all of you know how to do what you know how to do. And we do.
Yeah, that's what you're trained for.
And so that's what you're trained for. He said, how many are excited about every painting you start, and you know what it's going to look like when you start it, when you finish? Well, I know what it's going to look like.
Yeah.
Well, are you excited about that? No, not really. Well, I want to. This week is going to be about how to go beyond that. And I've lived a long time, and I've experimented with painting. And what I've learned is if I don't let go and then give it away, don't rely upon it, then I'm open to receive new information, new inspiration and inspired information. So I'm inviting you to this week, forget what you know how to paint. And go out there with the intention of like, go with the impulse. Go with the intuition, to go with the leaning of the what if. And there's where your problem is. What if I don't know what that looks like? I'm scared to put down what that if is.
Right.
I'm more comfortable in putting down what I know how to put down. That's his story. And I raise my hand and I go like, you know what, I've watched you paint. I think I could do that if I knew what it looked like.
And he laughed probably.
Yeah, he laughed. Everybody laughed. I said, well, you don't laugh, and what I'm really saying is this. How can I forget what I don't know?
Yeah.
Because I'm comparing myself to what you're trying to tell me and how you paint. I can watch you take a brush and you'll load it with running it through white, and then you'll circle it through some colors. I'm trying to figure what you just did, but then you'll end up with something in one big stroke. Oh my God, I get cold chills just, and my stomach just goes in knots and it just twinkles because I don't know how. That's wonderful. That's really what a painting should do. But I don't know how to do that. So you're asking me to turn loose today, and I'm thinking it's supposed to look like his, you know.
Right.
No, it's not what it's about. And so the following morning he said, you know, I woke up at 3 this morning, Jerry, thinking about you. And that's really good. A dealer can actually think about your artist, and I think you must.
I do.
And what could I do to help sell this painting? Well, that's the true teacher. That's the true caring person that God's brought into your life. And it was a God-given gift for me that day with him. So he said, I woke up this morning at 3, and when Jerry Jordan begins to paint what he knows how to do, I want you to put a big red heart right in the middle of that painting. And it'll force you out of what you know because you don't know how to fix this. It'll drive you to a contemporary interpretation.
Right.
I began to cry. It was so deep.
Yeah.
I said, you just took an arrow and pierced my heart. And I put hearts all over the next paintings the following days, you know. But that's the day I began to put a heart after the end of Taos.
Wow.
Taos, together, always our spirit,
Yes.
the heart. And then years later, I, rightly or wrongly, began to think, maybe the heart's a little bit trite. It's for me anyway, so I put a red dash, and that's the memory of that day. Turn loose of your control, Jerry. You don't know how to do this. You got to let go and let God. So you got to turn loose of what you know how to do as a peace offering back to God, or as an offering back to God for this gift.
Yeah.
And accept the download that comes through creative gifts.
Yeah.
And let it come out your fingers and into your hands and onto that canvas.
Yeah.
So fast forward back to what I was trying to say. I'll never please myself. I please the seller of the gallery periodically. It's never 100%. But if I can take what stage I'm at today, painting a painting, and compare it to where it began, I'm looking forward to you reading a book and getting back to me.
Right.
You see the beginning of the paintings to where I am today, and I take the ability given to me in my DNA and offer it as a piece, a gift back to God.
It's a connection.
In gratitude for the gift.
Yeah, it's a connection and it's gratitude.
I've got 1 out of 3 that's going to say it's okay.
So when do you put the dot? When you finish everything in your name, it's the last thing?
Last
Is it
thing.
the very last thing?
Very last thing.
Yeah.
The TOS is the last and the dot. And every time I think
Yeah.
of that day.
Yeah, that's saying thank you for this life. Thank you for this day. Thank you for this painting.
Thank you for the gift.
Yeah.
Thank you for the sales.
Yeah.
Thank you for the museums. Thank you for the galleries. Thank you for the hard knocks.
Yeah. And that's a lot in a lot of different religions are the same way. Whether
It should be.
Yeah, like Buddhism.
Yeah.
You know, thank you for this day. I appreciate this day. Whether it's my last
It's called
day.
gratitude.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
You know.
It is gratitude. Your dot is gratitude for your life, for your creativity, to your maker, to your life, to your journey.
There you go. So the book's entitled Together Always Our Spirit. Jerry Jordan, Together Always Our Spirit. Who would have ever dreamed that day I gave Pat Fortine a print
Yeah,
of a little house that now sits 20 feet from my studio
it does.
in Taos.
Oh, that's funny. And I assume, well, it's not funny, it's what it was meant to be, but when you bought that house next to that other house, I'm sure that was a guiding force, wasn't it?
Guiding force.
Yeah, of course.
So I'm out there with the realtor, and I said to him, I said, I used to paint near here somewhere from Texas. Well, instead of going left, let's go right. It's somewhere near here, and it's 40 foot from my house,
Yeah.
my studio. And I look at that house, and I'm going, I'm going to tell you all a story, and I'll tell you a little bit of a story.
Right.
Do you want to know the title of that print? Sure. It was called If You Knew This Place. If you knew this place, indicating you might not know it.
Right.
If you knew this place, you'd call this home.
Yeah, interesting.
And TAOS was born that day.
In 1985. Yeah.
And what I like to say is the book was written that day.
Yeah.
The show was produced that day.
Yeah. Everything gelled.
The show actually was produced when I was 13.
Yeah.
Or even in my gift to her life.
It
But
was
still,
probably there before 13.
yes.
Yeah.
So my encouragement to young artists, and any profession, but young artists is where I'm lean myself. This is going to be a hard road. And so I thought when I got offered this show, oh my God, I must be making it pretty good, you know.
Right.
And I get involved in that thing, and I'm going, this is hard. Why is it hard? Well, because I'm not turning loose.
Yeah, you have expectations,
Expectations.
you have deadlines and all this other stuff.
I've got to do this.
You need the heart.
And I can't fail.
Yeah.
And I have a fear of failure because of the third grade sense.
All that stuff. Yeah, I can see it. It's
It
clear.
carries over.
Yeah.
So I'm always working against not failing.
Right.
So which is part of the drive and the persistence, and I will not quit. I will not do this. I will not fail at
Right.
this.
Right.
And I say to myself when I'm painting a painting, and I get criticized for this from family members and anybody that learns about it, is I say I don't know how to do this. I do not know how to do this. But I gotta figure it out.
Right.
I have no choice. There is no choice in not figuring it out.
Yeah.
They go, I wish you wouldn't say you don't know how. I said, you didn't understand what I said. It's a vital difference. How many of us know how to do something that we got up against that day? I don't know how to do it. I didn't say I wouldn't do it.
Or I couldn't do it.
I didn't say I couldn't do it.
Right.
I didn't say I won't do it. I don't know how to do this.
Right.
But there's the gray area Mr. Goebel was talking about.
That's right.
I don't know what it looks like. I can paint it, but I know what it looks like.
Right.
I don't know what the spirit of that painting looks like.
Yeah, it has to come
I
out.
hear people all the time going, there's something different about your paintings than I see in some others. What is that? I said, spirit.
Yeah.
It's spirit life.
Yeah. This is very typical in native arts too.
Exactly.
A potter often doesn't have a clue what they're going to make until the clay tells them what it's going to be. Or
The painting tells you how to paint it, the clay tells you how to form it.
That's right. That's right. So you're working organically from the heart and the spirit, and trying to not do this, but do here.
This is an everyday deal.
Yeah.
It's an everyday war.
Yeah, that gets in the way.
Yeah.
You can't open up the channel.
I was painting for Pretty West, and the same thing happened to me in my first invitation for Pretty West this last year. And I didn't know what end was up. I'm going like, I'm just lost. It's just not working.
It's that pressure you were putting on yourself.
Why? It's pre-to-west.
Yeah, that's right.
You're up against what's considered the best.
No different than walking with that painting into those Barker Brothers or any of that other stuff.
Same thing.
Yeah, or you're painting on the wall in Taos in the hotel.
Same thing.
Yeah.
And so I ended up having Cindy, my dear friend, who's director of Legacy, come up. I said, I need some help. Come up and visit with me about this painting. And she liked the painting.
Yeah.
Because I've seen it much uglier than it is and was. There's a cloud that comes over and it's the ugliest thing you've ever seen. And she said, why don't you set that aside and do the second painting? Smaller painting.
Yeah.
The first one was 30-30, then it's going to be 18-20. Well, that's not a bad idea.
Yeah.
And turn loose of it.
Yeah, it's a terrific idea, actually.
Jerry, let it go.
Yeah, it's true.
And the second painting went rather smoothly.
Yeah.
I mean, it had some hitches, but rather smoothly. And it finished. And it gave the bigger one time to dry some, and I lightly wet sanded the textures off that I didn't care for. And in doing so, I'm going like, now that's not too bad looking.
Yeah.
And I had it finished in a matter of days.
Yeah. It also gave you time to subconsciously absorb and think about that painting. And I'm sure you were when you were at night.
I did,
sleep.
yes.
And so it just came, it was allowed to ruminate, percolate, and then, then you do your thing with the other one. It looks good. Your confidence feels different. You've had a chance to think about it. Then it comes out.
There you go.
You got your brain out of it, and you just let your body do it.
We opened our conversation today about when you do podcasts and stuff, you need serenity, quietness, no light, no nothing.
Yeah.
That's the atmosphere that works best in painting a painting.
Yeah.
It's a little idealistic to think we can 100% hit that all the time.
Right. We're humans.
But I work best if there's no interference. But you ask me a cognitive question, I'm going, what?
Yeah.
What did you, I don't know, say it again.
Right.
And then I've lost it. So I hate an interference like that.
Yeah. Yeah, you need to focus.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I can get distracted by other things. I find it much better if I just don't have any other sensories but this, right? Then I can.
I'm your painting today, so.
In a weird way, yeah. Yeah, I mean, I want to hear the story, and I don't want anything else to get in the way of the story.
So, think about this. I began painting when I was 14. I met Marilyn at 14.
Yeah.
Her mother was killed 4 months later in a car accident. And we've been together ever since. And so today she's dealing with Parkinson's 60 years later. And so it helps to refocus the priority
Of life. Yeah.
And the importance of finishing a painting or selling a painting. And then you've got to flip that back to what I said initially. You can't discount it totally because it's extremely important. The gift you had and the desire you had to be an art dealer, I can tell brings you great satisfaction, and be able to write about that as well as the other writings, it expresses your gift.
Yeah.
But in the end, we're dealing with a lot. It's called life and living, and it is the way it is.
Yep, daily.
Yeah.
Right.
And so what do? Daily you've got to learn and reach the place to turn it and let it go.
Yeah.
Just like a bad painting that's not going well, you've got to let it go and then let spirit come in and smooth that thing out,
Yeah, you have to be introspective. You just can't walk blindly through life. You need to think about every day, basically. This day, every day, which I do. And clearly you do too. Clearly you do too.
It's been a long road.
Yeah. Yeah, very successful one.
Very gratifying.
I can imagine.
I don't know if that's the right word. Satisfying, fulfilling. fulfilling to the point that it's so important for each of us. I want to speak to all the people out there listening to us, especially young artists. You have an obligation to the development of that gift. That's responsibility. But the payment is the fulfillment of that, the gratitude of getting there and succeeding at it and being able to make a living. I always said I spent 66 years trying to learn how to paint while trying to make a living at it at the same time. I only had 1 year employment at the First National Bank. I was 17.
Yeah.
The rest has been self-employed.
Yeah. You know, that's what Maynard Dixon said was his greatest achievement, is he was able to make his entire life as an artist and nothing else. That was what he really thought was his greatest achievement. Not too different than what you just told me.
I'm anxious to hear more about his story. I was telling Jabrina, my daughter, on our way down here about years. Probably one of your first bug bites was from Maynard Dixon, right?
One of my first what?
Bug bites.
Oh, God, yeah.
With Maynard Dixon.
Oh, yeah, it was terrific. Yeah, it hit me immediately, instantaneously.
I said, look at these hills, Jabrina, on the way down there today from Taos. Look at the rain and look at the sparse landscape. Right. Dixon moved into Arizona as a young man.
Yep, 20.
And was bitten.
Yep.
And that's where he spent his life painting, as I did Taos.
Yep.
The genre with the lone horses or whatever, it was Maynard Dixon.
Yeah, and I think his favorite place that he ever painted for one period of time was Taos.
Really?
Yep, yep. From July 12th, 1931 to January 15th of 1932. It's almost 7 months.
How does those images differ from what we're acquainted with?
A lot more Native American imagery. He did quite a few structures like adobe homes.
He could do that.
And Hispanic imagery, which he was being exposed to those kind of things. Yeah, I mean, it's the same thing, but really the Native American Earth Knower, Watchers from the House Rooftop, Men of Red Earth, all these were, he's going to the dances in Taos. He's living up next to Taos Pueblo, and the sky, the color, everything was a little different, right? And he really absorbed that. Even his colors are a little different, they're just different. So he was intrigued by Taos. He said, I was a fool not to come here sooner when he wrote, one of his friends, because he got it. And he goes, I'm coming back. But he never did.
Think of all the artists that's inspired by him.
Yeah.
I mean, I can see influences.
Oh, yeah.
Just as I am the founders, I'm equally as inspired by Dixon.
Yeah.
I just chose to render Taos.
Yeah.
I'm trying to paint one thing, trying to learn how to do it.
Right. No more ducks.
Well,
Seas.
I would love to do some ducks.
Yeah.
I mean, I loved painting ducks.
Yeah. But you found your voice.
I might put a duck in one of these kind of scenes.
But when you find your voice and it rings so loud, why would you don't need to look further if you're finding gratitude. And
you can't spread yourself. People say, do you sculpt? I said, I think I could.
Yeah, of course you could.
But I could also play the piano.
Yeah.
I could play the guitar.
Yeah, you did comedy.
I did comedy. I could sing.
There's lots of things.
But
we have a limited time.
Yeah, there's too many things. I see artists who sometimes are multi-talented and they never land on one of them.
Yeah.
It's too many varieties to choose from. They like them all.
Right.
And so I think John Meg's word was settle on one thing.
Yeah.
Well, I saw Mr. Thrasher's painting one thing, and that was pictures.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's important.
Yeah.
Mr. Thrasher settled on one thing, and that's painting pictures, and it included all kind of scenery that he was interested in.
Right.
And could sell. And I can paint ducks. I love painting ducks. Seascapes, I'm a great seascape painter.
Yeah.
But this is when I entered Taos, I go like, I want to learn how to paint that.
Yeah, and you see it and breathe it, and
I feel it.
Yeah, it makes a big difference, I think, when you're in that environment. It's like people come to they show me saguaros, you know, but they've never seen one in person. They've never been around a saguaro cactus, and they think they're going to be able to paint it. Well, they're not going to. I mean, they may get a stick figure thing, but they're not going to get the essence of that organic nature, which you have to absorb and see and feel. And Taos is color and light and smell and all the things that go with
Everything.
it. Yeah, everything. So.
See, I lived at the Indians in 1984 for a season, for a like a fall season
In Taos?
in Taos.
Yeah.
If it weren't for that experience, honestly, I don't know that I know how to paint this.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I mean, I lived in the houses with them, in the house with them.
In Taos Pueblo?
Yes.
Yeah.
How that happened, I'm in Texas, and I'm reminiscing living at the Taos Inn.
Yeah, right.
Oh my God, it was heaven. I can still smell it right now.
And that was 20 years earlier when you were at the Taos Inn that first time.
Yeah, I was in 65.
Yeah, and now you're back in like 84.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And bought a house in 65. If you think that's not interesting, to go in 65 and buy a house in 65 or 70, or 85?
Yeah.
Sheesh. So we'd come over for Christmas, and I took a snapshots of the Taos Inn, winter, snowing, and the lights are on in the Taos Inn. And I'm going to paint a painting reminiscent of Taos Inn.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm taking pictures, and this blazer drove up in the middle of my photograph. I'm going to get out of the way. What is wrong with you? And then 7 skiers walked behind the vehicle. I go, I give up.
Yeah.
I just want the Taos Inn and the streets and this blanket of snow. And I stood there and go like, wait a minute.
Go to the source.
That's my painting.
Yeah.
That's my painting. What's wrong with you, Jerry? Don't reject what comes to you. Pay attention. Learn to be sensitive.
Mm-hmm.
Learn to feel and be intuitive. That's where it started.
That's in this, isn't it?
Yes, it's
I
in
remember
there.
seeing that picture in there.
So I'm in Brownfield painting. I'm going, what I really need is some Indians, some natives walking up and forth with a blanket in front of the house. They did that when I lived there.
Sure.
I go out and visit with them. And, well, I could do a figure, but I really wanted somebody.
Person.
So we made a trip to Taos. I went to see Tony Raina. Tony just passed away about a couple of years ago at 100.
Mm.
And I have a great portrait of him in my house, photograph portrait. And so I saw Tony, I've got this painting I want to paint. And so I would like to have some natives that would agree to pose for me.
Mm-hmm.
And we needed to go see Tell Us Good Morning, Raina. Okay, so how would I do that? So you got to talk to his son, Jimmy.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll tell you how to get there. And Jimmy will take care of the rest of it for you. There's several elders that would be probably agreeable to do that for you. So I'll go out there and meet Jimmy and Tell Us Good Morning, Raina. And I ask about other people. And Grandpa speaks up and says, we can do John Marcus, White Clay Dancer, Joe Sandoval, Sunhawk. Sunhawk's father and he posed for the founders.
Mm.
Probably as did White Clay Dancer. And Tellus probably. So anyway, I take him to the Taos Inn. I said, by the way, this is now in July.
Mm-hmm.
I said, my scene's set in winter, Christmas. So would it be inconvenient for you to like approach what you might wear?
Right. It's
Not
winter.
in July, but in...
Right.
Oh, sure, no problem. So they come down there on their winter boots and stuff. They was about hot to death.
Yeah, I bet.
So we took photographs walking up and down and sitting on the ledge. Sitting on the ledge, one of those paintings was in my show and in this book.
Mm.
After the photo shoot, I said, Jimmy, ask them would they be willing for me to photograph in the village. Sure, come on. So that image is also in this book, photographed that day, my first day, 1984, July, at the Pueblo. after it's over with, the Raina said, "Why don't you come back this fall?" I said, "Why don't you come back this fall, Jerry? I can show you the whole pueblo." Oh, yes. And Grandpa chided and he said, "Jerry, if you come back and I'll take you on top of my house."
Yeah.
My house is right before the church that was bombed, you know. In fact, not long ago, I was remodeling part of my house. I found cannonballs in my wall. How about that?
Yeah.
So I take you on top of the house and I bring you cookies and coffee. How about that? And so I stayed with them.
Yeah.
And in the process, they adopted me as a son.
Wow.
I don't know if I'd be painting this if that experience didn't happen.
Yeah, you might not. Yeah.
Because I listened to them talk.
Yeah.
And we would go out riding. I took them riding into the Aspen and took photographs of them. And one was, Jerry, we talk to the environment. We talk to nature. We talk to the spirits. We talk to the trees. I say, trees, will you be willing to let me cut you for our fire, for our warmth, for our family? Or dear, can we have you as a gift to us to feed my family? That's the way I talk. And there's numerous illustrations of that kind of conversation. And so there was a painting I had at Idle George Museum one of the years, and the title of that painting was "A Conversation with the Aspen."
Mm.
And there's a bunch of natives underneath the trees and go like. So titles actually come from having stayed
Experience.
there.
Yeah.
Being adopted, being rejected, being called less than names.
Yeah.
Why are you here and that kind of thing.
Right.
And having that initiation, but understanding, we're the invader. I'm only grateful that for the open arms to receive me,
Yes.
let alone adopt me into one of their families. And so this book and my show was in honor of that journey.
Yeah.
And so I paint these things not academically well, but spiritually on pitch.
Yeah.
From experience.
Yeah. Well, that's the best kind. Things that produce emotion, paintings that produce emotion to me are the ones that work. You can technically be fantastic, but if it doesn't have any emotion to it, it just...
You can feel the difference, can't you?
Oh, of course. I can feel the difference between when an artist is in a bad place and they paint things.
Absolutely.
You can just see the strokes, the darkness, whatever, or joy. I see this in some of my artists I've known a long time. It's like, okay, yeah, they're really happy, or maybe some things are going on.
Yeah.
So,
What's going on?
Yeah.
You can feel it. What's going on?
Yeah, and it just comes out. You can't help it. It's just like writing. When you write a book, the stories come out how you feel that day.
Writing a book's the same thing as painting a painting.
I think it is similar.
It's the same thing.
Yeah, I think so.
You got to find the key.
Yeah.
There's keys to telling. This is a complete story. This is a whole book right here.
Yeah, that's your life.
But it's a story of. You could write a book about these guys, right?
Oh yeah.
And so each one has a presence, and once you are able to tell that story in pictorial form, that's the same thing you find in words and editing, major editing. I overdo most paintings and have to cut most of it out.
Yeah. Yeah, I learned long ago words are easy to get rid of and just do others. Because if you get involved and you go, oh, I just love this passage, or you spent, sounded so, it just worked. But reality, if you read it and it doesn't push the dialogue on, the plot on, it's superfluous, just get rid of it. It might have been a great sentence, but it didn't help the overall picture. So
Rod Goble would say, you may have to throw out the best thing in the painting for the overall good of the painting.
That's exactly right. Yeah, that's a hard thing to learn until you do it. Because you can always write more, you can always paint differently, you can always, there's more.
Well, it's like, I heard a story once. Churchill.
Mm-hmm. Winston Churchill.
Wrote a letter to Roosevelt and apologized. He said, I apologize, Mr. President, for the length of this letter. I didn't have time to write it short enough.
Yeah, exactly. That's so insightful.
It's very, very insightful.
Yeah, that's very. I mean, look at Gettysburg Address, by Lincoln. It's not very many words, right? But it doesn't need to be. He edited it down. Paintings do that. Dixon used to do that,
One
especially as he
reason I
got
like
older.
Glenn Dean's work, he's so edited.
Yeah,
Just minimal words.
yeah.
I love that man's work.
Yeah.
It makes me think of Dixon.
Yeah.
Yeah, a whole lot.
Yeah, the older he got, the more he edited. He took out the superfluous stuff, and if it didn't add to the scene, he got rid of it. And you can see it. It's like, oh yeah, I had a painting
That's my goal, actually.
yeah.
My goal is
I think it comes with just a lot of paint and letting it come out and age. It's a lot harder to edit than it is to just throw in everything, the rainbow, the birds, the kitchen sink. Edit it out.
I've done it all.
Yeah, no, of course. I think most artists do. I think they start thinking the more I can put in, the more complete this painting is. Somebody will like it. And the reality is, get rid of half of it.
It's getting boring. Get on with it.
Yeah,
It's like a speech that's too long. Get on with it. I get the essence of it. Let's get to the end of this thing.
Yeah.
What's the complex and what's the climax story of this?
Yeah,
the
this-
essence of it.
yeah. It's any good story or any good poem. It's not how long it is. It's just does it come through.
So I think that's what good art should be.
Yeah.
That's what I strive for.
Well, Jerry,
Thank you for today.
thank you. It was fun. I'm really glad we ran into each other at Legacy, and you took the time to come down, and we could do
And you were available today. And
I was going to be available regardless. I'm going to make the day.
that's what I call God things. This whole book's written about God things. And I'm not talking about church and religion. I'm talking about inspired
Right.
things from the Creator Himself. Those happenings that go like, you pay attention to this. This is not normal.
Yeah. When I say, can you do it? And you think, yeah, I should do it. This is
I told the kids I should do this. Why? I should do this. I don't know. I should do this.
yeah, because you can
For one thing,
recognize.
I've admired Mark for years. And
Well, vice versa,
and
my
his
friend.
work and his
Vice versa.
galleries and so I did.
Yeah, and it was meaningful. It's a really good podcast.
Well, I'm hoping it inspires listeners that this is not an easy road, and look, life's not easy.
No.
It's just it's a rough ride, but there's a destination, and so I can see the last chapter. At 80 years old,
Right. Doesn't
couldn't
matter.
believe I got here this quick.
Isn't that the truth? It goes quickly. But that's why you want to pick the right thing that you love to do and find the meaning that you're supposed to do. Then it can go quickly. It doesn't have to.
I don't have
Can you
time.
imagine doing 40 years as a banker? You would have been painting the walls.
I
You would have
went-
been adding paintings to the. I mean,
I went to a party in Texas when we moved back in 19. We sold my house in 1998 and moved back to Brownfield. And bought the Brownfield home actually. He was retiring, and my parents lived with us until they left here. And so I ran into the banker who I was working for, who hired me,
at 17.
who's still chairman of the board of the bank,
Yeah.
and his son is the president.
Yeah.
I'm going like, guys, I intend to be president of this bank. I'm glad I chose art because you guys are still here. I wouldn't have had a chance.
Yeah. No, that's right. You wouldn't have. You never would have.
No, I'd have to move on somewhere else.
That's-
But that experience let me know I didn't want that kind of world.
Yeah. Yeah.
So when the art came available, I had a better
Yeah.
sense of
You dropped it in a minute.
evaluation,
Yeah. Yeah. You immediately recognized it and dropped
It
it.
didn't take long.
Yeah. And that's another thing I think you have to do is you have to trust your instincts. Sometimes they might seem like a scary jump, but if everything's telling you this is what I'm supposed to do, well, you should embrace it.
Better listen.
Because
this, later on, you'll get the opportunity of choosing something. If you haven't practiced that, you easily can choose wrong.
yeah. Yeah.
There's a story in the book about that when you read it. But that's important.
Mm-hmm.
So it's the same thing in painting. They go, how do you do this? I listen to my gut.
Mm-hmm.
Do I hit every time? No.
No, you'll never will. You can't.
But when I get really screwed up on the painting and messed up, I have to go back and go, okay, so recenter.
Yeah.
What can get you out of this? And you don't hear voices going, you need to do this and that, you know, and you need to take yellow and purple and
Right.
add some green or whatever. You don't hear that. You just look at the palette and you go like, okay, here we go. How do we approach this? Well, I've got to start somewhere. So you look at something that jumps out at you. Well, that jumping out, maybe I might try that. Or I'm just lost. There's the design of this. And I thought of an image in a book. One of the artists previously solving a juxtaposition or a coloring.
Right.
I'll think of a book. And lo and behold, if I'm not looking at it, well, there's the book. There's the answer. He did thus and so. That's what's wrong with this painting.
Yeah.
That's intuition.
Yeah. And experience, time.
Experience and listening.
Yeah, no, listening is so critical.
Listening.
And everything you do in life.
Yeah.
You know, not just in painting or art dealing or writing, but
It's
just,
actually the hard part.
yeah, most people don't listen.
Yeah. Most people don't listen.
Well, thank you. It was really wonderful. And I want
Thank you for the honor.
Oh, no, the honor's all mine. I'll let you get back up to Taos before the rain hits you again.
We left the gallery the other night, but we was just drenched. It just rained
Oh, yeah.
crazy.
No, it's like,
But we ran out of it halfway up.
yeah, it was a lot of rain.
Yeah. So, thanks for today.
All right, very good. Thank you. Very good.